The Coach Peggy Show. All things wellness with Coach Peggy Wilms. How many people in your life have told you you're half of this or half of that? Are you settling? No more. This show is about all things, and you deserve it. It's about your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. We extinguish excuses and raise the bar to all things possible. It's time to use your ATM. You know, your all things mindset. Welcome to the Coach Peggy Show. Bold, badass, and never half in.
Hey everybody, this is the Coach Peggy Show, and I am Coach Peggy, and I am so glad that you are here because I'm sure you've heard a big bad rumor out there. It's Crappy to Happy Month, and I dedicated the whole entire month to this amazing #1 Amazon best-selling book. It's a compilation of amazing stories of grit and grief and acceptance and forget. I can't even go on. It'd be like 35 adjectives. But you know that this is the home of all things wellness, all things well-being. We talk about everything, finance, romance, whatever. So if you have any question on where to find these shows, there are 4 episodes every Tuesday, 6 Eastern. So go back, hop on my YouTube, hop on my website, and have a good time with these ladies. All right, you guys, let's get started. This is kind of the lay of the land. So I have 3 amazing women here, and I'm just going to give a quick bio before each of them shares their story with us. And then at the end of each person, I'm going to just see if they're paying attention. So like Reverend Dr. Templ Hayes is going to be the first one. I'm going to say, hey, Lorilyn, what'd you think? So I always say, you guys better take notes, or Dr. Ann, paying attention. Did you guys read the whole book? You did. You finally got your hands on it. Wasn't it a hard book to get your hands on?
We haven't gotten it yet.
Okay. Well,
start over.
I got the PDF. I got the book. So you guys at least know your own stories. I got a special little, I don't know. I must know your publisher. All right. For anybody that is walking and not seeing us live, I have their lovely faces in front of me. So if you're just listening along, go back and see the video and you get to see these gals as well. All right, Dr. Templ Hayes is with us. Lorilyn Bridges is with us, and Dr. Ann Worth is with us. I'm going to give you a quick bio because Templ just absolutely loves bios. So that's what we're going to do. Real quick. She's a spiritual leader and author, international motivational speaker, humanitarian, life rights advocate, shamanic practice. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The most important thing that I want to say is that she's the CEO and senior minister in the Unity Church. It's here in Florida, which is where I am, you guys. And the main thing that she says that I love is united we stand, divided we are merely a distraction. And is that the way of the world today, my girl? Miss Templ, welcome.
Thank you so much. You know, I love that statement also. It came to me like after a dream. And it took me a while to realize that had been kind of the story of my life. You know, that when you're united with yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your body, your being, then you are very focused and laser energized, and your heart is open, and you're like an electrifying magnet. But when you feel divided, you know, and you're almost like in an argument with yourself, your critic's going one direction, your heart's going the other, your mind is wanting to override and analyze all that, you can get divided very quickly with what you're about.
That's a really good point, because I think when we tend to read these quotes, which I'm going to bounce back really quickly, because when I do these shows, I always try to find like my own quote that's relative to, you know, the content, obviously. And today's quote I had is, happiness is an inside job. Don't assign anyone else much power over your life. So that's a Mandy Hale quote. But when I was seeing your quote on that, for me especially, I think we think of that quote connected to our bio or connected to like that moment in time. But your particular quote seems like it was something that developed over a period of time with this life you've led and the stories that, you know, your part of the book is what misfit to mystic or something. I think like that. Was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So let's get started. I don't know where you really want to start your amazing story in this book. It's, you know, if we go back into talking about mama, what your mom went through and kind of observing, we all have a story. This is the biggest takeaway I had from you 3. we all have a story to tell, and the three of you are very unique. It's why I put you together specifically, because I know for me personally, I feel like I have a story to tell, but I don't feel like I yet own the story to tell. I mean, not like I'm waiting for everybody to die around me, but I feel like they're going to be mad at me, or Lorilyn's like, what? But I don't feel like it's quite time. And your story, our stories go way, way back. So I just would like to see where you'd like to start, feeling like kind of an outcast.
Yeah, well, our stories are rich. Well, I think for me, the dichotomy was that at 5 years old, I was out in nature. I was talking directly to God. When I was going somewhere on Sunday that said, that's not possible. You can't do that. You have to go through an intermediary. You can't talk directly to God. But I was talking directly to God. I was getting messages. I was told certain things about my life. And I was in a small town with deep religiosity. And my mother was in a supposedly she was involved in an affair. To this day, no one talks about it. It's never been proven. But there was a whole lot that happened. And my mother got sent away to a mental health clinic for a long time. And that was really hard for a 10-year-old, to find where's my mother. And I was an old soul, like I bet every one of you on this call that you are. There's a difference between old souls and newly evolved people on the planet. You can tell a big difference. So I was already a serious child. And that being said, then my father walked in my bedroom on me with a 17-year-old girl. I was 13, not quite 13 and a half. And we weren't reading a magazine. Let's just put it that way. Let's keep it clean. And, he flipped for whatever reason. Could be he flipped because it scared him about my life, because people disappeared back then. They killed you. They hung you on fences and left you to die. They didn't use the word gay, which is another word for happy. They used homosexual, like, oh my God.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that was the moment. So that was the moment that everything shifted. People seemed different to me. And I went to the mental health clinic for a little car ride. And I was wise enough to know that if I provoked my dad, they would take him on because he was a rageaholic. And that's what happened. So I got beautiful guidance from God, the divine, to provoke my dad. And they said to him, the only way we'll take your daughter is if you'll let us work with you. And he went, there's not a thing in the world wrong with me. Let's go get back in the car. Yay.
Right.
So that was it. That was that crappy. That was that grandmother saying, I'm not going to see you in heaven. Grandmother always talking to me about the devil and why did Satan have me? And it was just a very uncomfortable time, to say the least.
What are your thoughts looking back over these years that, because obviously they had a bunch of stuff they were carrying, their stories of what was, dark and not acceptable and all of that. When you look back, is there anything you can see in the family or the history that would have, or just was at the time, the social influences of how everybody felt? I mean, Grandma sounds like she wasn't,
religiosity is like a cult. Religiosity is like a cult. You have a whole lot of people determined to die for it when many of them have never even questioned, what is it that we're saying? You said God's loving. Oh, but he hates all these other people, or she hates, or it hates. Oh, you say this, it's like a cult. And so for me, the peace that I was able to hold from my grandmother is she was part of this cult and she had never questioned it. She would have had to question it and to exit it in order to accept me. And that was just way overwhelming. So I did go to Grace. I eventually got to Grace and was able to see how hard that would have been for her to take a stand and say, this religiosity is crazy. It teaches separation. It enforces people to hate and be divided instead of united. And I don't want to be a part of it. So for me, the greatest blessing really, Peggy and Anne and Lorilyn, is that it helps me to see the incongruencies when I work with people in humanity, because religiosity is a big deal. It's enforced to keep people powerless and not make their own decisions. And there's a whole culture of that. I'm not talking about people that are invested in good, essence of being connected to God. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the violence of the teaching at a deeper level. So it's helped me tremendously in my work. And like I always say, if we were all in a room and we threw our problems on the floor, I would still take mine back.
Oh, you know what? I'm stealing.
They're like familiar.
Drinks
they're like,
to that.
They're like my sweet little friends, and they've shaped me, and they didn't.
How old were you?
They grew me. Huh?
Being an old soul, I respect that. I've been told that, and you're right. All of us probably are right here because we took life really serious for a long time. How long did it take for you to be able to step back and say, I'm okay, I'm not broken, they have some stuff, and we're talking 20s, 30s, because you were a teen when this all evolved. So I'm just curious of what level of maturity, how it took on, or how your mentors helped you get to that place.
It was literally one birthing step at a time. I kept being born over and over again, like the great resurrection. And so it was several times, definitely that occurred. And then the law of attraction, that I remember when I was like in my early 30s, I met a woman at a women's group, and I said, I'm gay. And she said, well, what do you want to do next week? It was like it was a non-event. And I realized in my life it was a non-event, but I always had this gut response. So intellectually, I knew I wasn't broken. Intellectually, I really know in my heart no one's broken. For sure. At all. And I know this isn't a broken world. It's just as long as people feel broken, as long as people say the world's broken, we are depleted of our possibilities, So it was a little bit here and there, and I would really feel like I was created this way. I'm good. I'm happy. It's okay. Not as many people are killed for being gay now. I can be out, but I was selective in who I was out to, because the sensation would still override me, like that little girl. Like dad walking in, like grandmother. Right. And so that was the brilliance, was realizing that it was just a sensation and still stepping forward. And it opened up my heart, because I can see now how I wouldn't let everybody in, because I didn't want to that sensation was like, well, once they really knew everything about me, they're going to betray me. They're going to abandon me. That's the thing. So, but it was me who was holding back. I wouldn't let my light shine either. So it was just a huge breakthrough. Thank you for asking me. And that's what I love about us sharing our stories, is you get a different insight every time you do. Every time.
There is a pivotal moment. I have a client who's bisexual, and I was meeting with him yesterday, and he's trying so hard to get rid of the moment, the time that hurt so bad, where, he came out and everything was such a big deal. And I said, don't. That's part of your story. It becomes less emotional. I can't specifically speak to your story, but I'm just saying, in my heart, it just feels like, and he's young, it just feels like he's trying so hard to get rid of that and move on, that when I'm listening to you, the embracing that you aren't broken and it is yours. And this is 2020, and my poor little guy feels like this. Yes. So, thank you for sharing that.
You can tell him his destiny is to show people love does not come in a box. It's in many packages, and Lorilyn can speak to that as well better than I. But really love that's true. Love is that's part of what we came here to do. And my generation and in others, is we came to show people that love isn't color related. It's not body related. It's not size related. It's not.
We want to belong. That sense of belong is such a. Lorilyn, let hop in right here. What are your thoughts with what Templ's saying? Because it's
exactly. I think that's the pivotal moment for us as a society and as individuals, is we have to see enough is enough. We have to see past all the superficial packaging of people and look at their soul and their heart and interact with people on an energy level, not on a superficial level. So I don't know if you want me to add, but when my child came to me and said this child was born with male genitalia, was told it's a boy. Right. I raised this child as a boy, but this child from the moment of consciousness really always felt female. Right. So, but didn't let me know and really anybody know until they were almost 30 years old. So, I talk a lot, people go, oh, you're such an amazing mom that you've been so supportive and you were so accepting of this decision or this big thing. And I said, you know what? I'm not an amazing mom. I actually feel really bad for the family members who can't accept a child or an adult who is transgender. And very much like what Templ was saying is it's their limitations. It's their own personal limitations that doesn't allow them to be accepting. And how sad is that for that person to lose a relationship with a loved one or a family member because of their own limitations. Right. And I believe the limitations are based a lot of times in religion, like Templ mentioned. I think a lot of limitations also lie in the fact that if somebody can't personally relate, then it isn't real. Like if somebody,
that's a good insight.
I do believe that.
I haven't heard it put that way.
If a mom has never felt male or even never felt drawn homosexually to another, if they're just hetero and cis, typical, it's very hard for them to accept or imagine that somebody could think differently. So I think that's a limitation that is disallowing family members to accept the person who is in their mind different, transgender, homosexual. And so I think it's religion. I think it's the fact that they themselves don't have that feeling. I think it's society. Like now, and Templ's a great example, now homosexuality is so embraced that on commercials, you see homosexual partners in commercials raising families. And that's so fabulous that we have as a society broken down the barriers of homosexuality and embraced it. Like, love who you want, spend your life with who you want, marry who you want. That's such a growth for us as a society that we've removed that barrier, but we're not there yet for the transgender group. And I keep saying to Teddy, I said to her, Teddy, I don't know if in your lifetime you're going to see it. I think we're 50 years out. Of being able
not too far into your story because we got to spend time with Teddy.
Go ahead. I do that all the time,
girlfriend. No, you don't get us excited. That was a great appetizer. So you hold. No, I want to hear your story too. What are your thoughts, Dr. Ann, Miss Ann over there about Templ? What are you? Amazing.
My brain has been like a ping pong ball because everybody has said so many important things about the child that is in each of us and the child that was in my mother that I was not able to understand for so many years because I felt unwanted and unlovable. And I blamed her for that. I blamed her for something that I didn't understand. Like we may blame other people for things that we can't understand, we can't relate to. But gosh, and I'm thinking about compassion and I'm thinking about love. I mean, so many important words have been spoken. And, the name of my chapter in the book is called Mercy, because I received such mercy that I didn't deserve. But it could also be called, love. We're all talking about love. And this morning, it's so interesting. I was listening to an old playlist, and Celine Dion was singing I'm sorry, my answering machine is going off in the other room.
Life. It's okay. It's life.
So this morning I was listening to an old playlist and Celine Dion came on and she was singing, I'm everything I am because you loved me. And for me, you ask how long it took. You ask if there was a pivotal moment. Yes, when I was 55 years old, I met a loving God and healed every lie that I had ever believed about myself, opened the lock that I had on my heart that I hoped would protect myself. But many things helped me along the way. I too felt condemned by God and my family. And I could not reconcile what I was hearing about a loving God and what I was seeing and experiencing. And so I ran from God, ran as far as I could, ran to Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh's ashram before he went totally crazy. I had wonderful, wonderful recovery in AA. I have, through meditation, through many things, helped me heal slowly. But then I had a vision that changed my life, changed every cell in my body, and made me feel so absolutely lovable. And so it also opened my heart to love. Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge anyone? I mean, I can't tell you the dark places I've been. I went the places that angels fear to tread.
Right.
But
Anne, I just want to let everybody know who can't see your face, who's walking down just a lovely path in the woods, that I want to tell them who you are. I mean, you're a Christian author and you're saying, so I just want to ask you, so it was 50 years old where you were like, hey, I'm coming out of the dark. Yeah. So as an author and a speaker and, all of the counselor and all these things, amazing things that you've done, has it been since that discovery, that internal, that I just wanted to tell everybody who you are.
My conversion experience was when I was 55. And
okay. Wow.
Yes, but I was already a therapist but I approached things from a very different perspective. And I really, as a therapist for many, many years, was kind of this, you can do it, you've got the power, because that is the lie, if you will, that I assumed in my own life is you cannot trust anybody else. Don't get your hopes up because you're always going to be disappointed, and you can do it yourself. So I did not draw on any kind of a spiritual help. I didn't have any spiritual help. I was a human doing, and I was going to do it. And I didn't realize I was a spiritual being living a human life,
Right.
So, but I really did try through many, many ways, and those ways were all helpful. But for me, I had to meet Jesus.
Right.
And he is total love. If Jesus were alive today, he would hang out with people like me, an alcoholic, a drug addict, a person who's had an abortion, 3 divorces. He came to heal the broken. He didn't come to hang out in the church. And so he's my guy.
Templ nailed it. We're just 4 old souls sitting here having a cup of coffee and some carrot juice. If you ask Lorilyn just tops it up. She's gonna fill up her cup again. I can just see that's about ready to happen. Okay, you ladies, we're gonna take a really quick break. We're gonna come back, finish your fun, amazing. They're funny stories, I bet. Okay, you guys, we're gonna take a break. This is Coach Peggy on the Coach Peggy Show, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Are you tired of being tired? Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. Did you know the adrenal glands, the workhorse of the body? They are the means by which you position yourself in life for whatever comes your way. Tiny but mighty, producing hormones the body uses to promote energy and vitality. These adrenals determine how you respond to stress, and when depleted, the body loses its ability to function powerfully when we need it most. The much-needed adrenaline or epinephrine is not available for emergency situations. Cortisone and cortisol, the longer-acting anti-stress adrenal hormones, can also become depleted due to the pace of our everyday lives. We overwork and undernutrition our most powerful ally that helps us to live the lives we desire. We are able to determine the optimum function of the adrenals and put your system back in balance. Contact us today to feel powerfully energized at 888-777-4232 or visit us at maryjanemack.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Coach Peggy Show. And if you missed the first part of this, it's just going to get better. So we have Templ and we have Ann and we have Lorilyn. And just before we went to break, Miss Ann here was telling us about, some of the dark stuff. She said angels didn't even want to play with her. I love that you said that. Right? Because we feel like that when you're sitting, when it gets dark for me, I always joke sarcastically to cover up the pain, but kind of like you're not joking. You know that? And I would say, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm sitting in a jail cell and it's raining inside and I'm naked and I'm rocking back and forth in the corner. Then I realized I've said that for like 40 years. And I thought, man, I have a problem maybe. But when you said angels don't even want to hang out, I thought, oh, I've had some days like that too. Mm-hmm. So while we were at break, I had asked Miss Templ here when Ann was talking to us about her story. And of course, I believe as well, you don't need to go to 4 walls and a steeple to believe. That's just me. But we were having a conversation about God and religion and all of that. So Templ, what were some of your thoughts with Ann so far with her story?
Oh, well, I'm happy for her, because there's such a big difference between spiritual law, which is what Ann is talking about, immersed in spiritual law, loving God, loving Jeshua, Jesus, having a personal relationship. Absolutely. And there's human law. And, there are many religions that humans have affected those laws. This is what God likes. This is what God doesn't like. God likes these people, doesn't like these countries. That's why they're poor. That's why those people are sick. And that's, to me, not spiritual law. So I'm thrilled for Ann. I have a personal relationship with them as well, in Buddha and Saint Germain and lots of other guides. And where she said that about she went places her angels wouldn't go. I had so many car accidents from being 15 to 29 because I drank like crazy. I had so many car accidents. I said that my guardian angels kept asking for reassignment. They're like, no, please. We don't want to be in the car with her. We might hit another transfer truck or we'll die.
Girl, that is, oh my gosh, tears in my face hurts. I've had a migraine for like 4 days because we have some massive storms, that are brewing in the Gulf, as you know, Templ.
Yeah.
And so my face is sensitive anyway. I know it's killing you guys, but you just made me laugh and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Now my face hurts. Okay, David, now I promise we're going to go to the lightning round. What was that, Templ?
Just the other thing I'd like to say is that there are churches that teach religiosity and human law. There's also spiritual communities that celebrate God and the connection that we have. And that's a whole different kind of thing because it goes back to ancient, it goes back to celebration, it goes back to tribal, where you gather together and you celebrate, you retrieve your soul, you energize each other. That's different. So there is for people that are tuning in, there is a big difference. There's church where it's, I talk at you, I sing to you, I tell you what you're to do, and you go out and you be a robot. There's another that says, I want to celebrate you and celebrate your possibilities of life and have you shed anything that no longer belongs to you and have you celebrate.
I want to add to that. And that we are all brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Created through love.
Yes.
Gosh, girls.
Ann's my middle name. That's what I say. Ann's my middle name.
It is. We're having such a great slumber party.
Worth is not actually my last name. It's a name I gave to myself along the journey when I was 35. Still trying to do it myself, though. Still trying to give my self-worth. But
okay, let's go through a lightning round because I want to just get this out before David just sues me. So, not sues me, just catches me like, Peggy, this is what you always do. And I forgot because I love these girls. Okay, lightning round. I'm coming at you, Templ, first. So I want to know if you needed somebody to play you in a movie, who do you think it would have to be?
Oh, gosh. Well, it would have to be someone that in my lifetime, I must meet and I must have coffee with, Sharon Stone.
I like that one.
Let's make that happen.
Mine's Robin Williams, which means I got to go to the other side because I swear he's my female version. Okay, Lorilyn, this one's yours. Are you going to dine in? I'm going to give you some money. Are you going to dine in? Or are you going to go out? And if you do, what's your favorite food and why?
Oh, I love all food. I am a huge eater. I love everything. I love every drink, every food.
Okay. I've been doing this for 30 years in my industry. And that's the first time. I mean, I've heard people say they love all food, but all food, all drink. Passionate eater, that's what you're called. All of it.
Seriously, don't get in there's not a wine, a beer, a liquor, a soda pop, a juice. There's nothing I don't like to eat or drink.
Okay, so who's driving when all four of us go partying? Okay, we have got to be. We're going to have to get an Uber. You guys can drive now. Okay,
I'm sober now. You can count on me.
Oh yeah, awesome. You know, I'm so careful not to abuse alcohol. My dad's an alcoholic, and I'm so careful because I like it so much. It's like I do have this struggle, and so far I've been okay, but I like food and drink so much. I don't want to mess it up.
Good job, girl. Good job. Okay, Anne, here's yours. We're on the food thing, I guess. I don't know why I picked two food things. If you could eat one food or one meal the rest of your life, you like it so much, what's it going to be?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you, I'm kind of like Paula Deen. Anything you can put butter on.
Butter needs to be its own food group, girl.
Butter needs to be its own food group.
I love you guys. This is great. Okay. I like that. I won't eat any. I'm really particular about bread. And so we went out this last weekend and I call it the butter delivery tray because I really don't care what kind of bread's. I just want to see the butter come. I don't keep it at home at all, but I am picky. If it's not a really good bread, then I won't eat it. But man, if it is. Okay, Lorilyn, are you ready? Dear, you know how to live love with love and faith and humor and gratitude and all of those things. And my child was still my child is your kind of chapter in the book. And, all of you guys are contributing authors to this about your individual stories, but yet the three of you, I just feel like is all about love and acceptance and all that. Can you take us? I know we talked about Teddy a little bit. Can you give us a little bit more in-depth story about Miss Teddy?
Well, Teddy is a unique child. You know, she's very gifted musically and artistically, and she's an incredible soul. And talk about an old soul. I mean, she was born an old soul. Mm-hmm. And what I want to use the opportunity to talk about with my child's story is really, I just think it's a conduit for us to make some changes in our thought process. And you're right. It really comes back to feeding the love that's in all of us and feeding the acceptance, because we all have the capability to do it. And we really just have to nurture that in us. And going back to the parents that are limited in the ability to accept a transgender child, going back to that, I don't think we can judge them. I think, as we said, they have limitations that prevent them from accepting their own child. And how awful for them. I mean, sure, it's awful for the child who is struggling for acceptance, but how terrible to not be able to love your own child simply because they came to you and said, they're transgender. I think it does come from ignorance. It comes from an inability to understand. Back in the day when people were terrified to say they were homosexual, people didn't understand what homosexuality meant. So that prevented them from being accepting. And we've come so far in the gay community, and we are accepting as a society of it. And I think we just have to keep that going. I've brought up the gender reveal parties. And, with the internet, there's such a focus on who can outdo the other person on the gender reveal party. And we have made the gender of the child so utterly important. And I really, again, not judging, because I know how you get caught up in that stuff, but if we could just take an awareness of what are we telling our little kids, like they've actually got their other kids involved, I've seen these gender reveal parties where the parents are doing it, but then the kids they already have are involved, like if they're setting off confetti or balloons, right, or paint or whatever, and it's like everybody's involved in this, and it's just the focus is on the wrong syllable. Nice. These kids are born male or female, but now we really are learning that what physically is represented a lot of times is not congruent with what that child believes they are and feels they are. So what a disservice to make it now such a huge identity of this baby. It's not just a baby anymore. It's like, are you having a boy or a girl? Let's, and guess what? In 10 years, that kid may say, I'm not a boy. So put the brakes on, redo everything. Let's not have to go back. Let's not start labeling kids before they're born.
How can you help any, people who are watching or listening? How can you help us prep our heart, either if we don't know we're going to go through it yet, or we know somebody is, when you get that initial news that is different than the Lifetime movie that you thought it was going to be, that initial conversation? How can you share with us what you've learned? If you went back to a magic wand, would you do anything different in how you reacted, or advice you give us?
No. And talk about the hand of God reaching down and controlling, changing. Before Teddy told me, the only transgender I had experience with was Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner. I was raised in the 70s. So Bruce Jenner to me was this big, hunky, athletic person. Right. And when I get you're not supposed to dead name the name before the transition. So we shouldn't refer to Caitlyn Jenner as Bruce Jenner, but I'm just trying to represent a time of before and after.
Yes.
So when I found out about that, that was the first time I had ever heard of transgender. Right. And I am going to be completely honest here and tell you that I judged that. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, this is a big, hulking, athletic guy. And now you're telling me that he was a she all the time and never let on. I mean, like, I feel so duped, like it's so incongruent of what I had always thought about this person. Now you're telling me this person felt completely opposite. So, but then when my child told me, it was a whole different vibe. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if the hand of God just came down and touched me, but it was I guess because I knew Teddy from birth, and I knew Teddy was just so genuine and so untouched by wondering or worrying about other people. And so I really listened when Teddy said she had felt like a female her whole life while she was being raised male. And I really listened, and I said, wow, that's got to be a real thing. That's got to be real. So
the fact that you didn't come from fear or negativity, right, Templ?
Yeah.
That
right.
Just wouldn't you like to have her for a mom, like every second of the day? I mean, I'm not saying, I know what you said earlier, Lorilyn, as you had said, don't people will say, oh, you're an amazing mom. But quite frankly, your heart was so open, and I want to give you some credit here. I mean, seriously, a lot of people would love to have you as a mom, sweetheart.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do think you brought up a great point, though. It's kind of like this. You're going to laugh at me, you guys, but if you've never seen a ghost or a spirit, you've never seen a ghost or a spirit, and you might believe or you might not believe. But boy, when your best friend or your child sees one, you're like, are you kidding me? Like this could really be. And so by you sharing your story, by me hearing it, by me knowing you, and all of that it's such a disservice if we don't share our stories. I mean, Templ,
I agree.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. And the other thing that I think is part of it. And one of my dearest friends, we were on the speaking circuit together. Just quick, she invited me over to donate to me some of her fancy suits. And I said, well, what do you mean? Aren't you going to use them? And she goes, I'm transgendering into a man. The thing of it is, in my own humble experience, is a couple of things. One is you do have to grieve, so I did have to grieve that my friend Jennifer was no longer there. Bruce Jenner was no longer there. So there is a grieving process it doesn't have to be a big thing, but that's the past. I don't know if this was true for you, Lorilyn, but it was true for me. I did not struggle with it. I mean, of all people that would accept someone being different, it would be me. The difference was that when I would do a frame of reference of the past, I would use a she pronoun by accident. Was tough because the windows are your windows. Like if you want to know where you live, you remember where your cat and dog were, And so it's like the window would not come up as him. It would come up as her. So that was another thing. But, with the second leading cause of death in young people, ages 14 to 34 being suicide, we got to get this right.
Yes.
We got to have some shockers that we can get out of our, whatever it is, our comfort zone or our limitations, because it's really taking its toll on young people, and it's not going away. It's going to be more and more and more in evolution until we get over it and get back into spiritual law. That's my belief.
I was just thinking, looking at the two of you, and I was thinking, often we don't research these subjects unless we know someone, or we just don't. And I was just thinking, if somebody just forced you to go to class, sit in an auditorium and hear different subjects, which we have to do in every other part of our life. If we could all just sit and hear these stories, I feel like, 90% of us are going to walk out of there and just go, I had no idea. Oh my gosh, never researched it. My heart is open and pure. And I was just, in today's world where everything is so divided, I was just like, gosh, I wish we had 5,000 stories that we could throw in front of people immediately. Because we're saying all the wrong things over and over. We're saying all the yucky stories and the dark over and over. I want to hear stuff of open and love. And what are your thoughts about Miss Lorilyn here? Aren't you just feeling super touched?
Oh, I'm feeling very touched. And yes, I would have loved to have had a mother like you. The thing that I keep thinking about, and I don't know whether it's because of the show we did last night and it was about forgiveness. So many times we don't forgive someone who has hurt us, and we don't look at what they're going through. We look at how it's affecting us.
Yes, amen.
And that's what was so beautiful about what you said. You looked at your daughter and said, she is my daughter and I love her.
Absolutely.
You didn't think about, what is this going to do to me? And that was something that I found very difficult most of my life. It wasn't until I wrote my own book, not this chapter in this book, that I realized I hadn't forgiven my mother and father, that I was still judging them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I could see them through God's eyes, all of my blame and resentment, and it all just dissolved. You see
Amazing.
your daughter through God's eyes. She is perfectly beautiful. She is your daughter. She is a creation, and she is who she is, and you love her.
Yeah.
And it didn't change. Nothing changed because of that. So if we can just see every other person, as I said earlier, as a brother or a sister who's dealing with their own angst. I mean, let's have some compassion for other people.
What you said is, I was trying to label a word as all of you guys are speaking, and I'm like, is it fear? Is it ignorance? And the whole time, every one of you are talking, and I'm like internalizing for myself. What am I aware of? Because I would say I'm open and loving and accepting of everyone. I do think I have questions and want to do the right thing. I don't know the pronoun right thing to say. I just don't. But I was just sitting. Do you guys believe most of it's fear? What do you think the initial kickoff is? Because what you just said, Ann, is what I want to hover on for a second. As you said, we make it all about us, first. Like, ooh, that's kind of out of my comfort zone. Ooh, what's that? Do you guys believe Templ? Lorilyn, go ahead. What do you think?
I think the biggest limitation of people being unable to be accepting or loving of others is they only work from their own framework and their own reference point.
Agreed.
And I really think because we are limited human beings, yet everyone's so unique and individual, I think that people have to break through that and say, we're not going to be able to relate, to understand, to go, oh, I get it. I feel that way too. It's so easy, even talking about people in the Middle East or whatever. It's because we don't have that experience. We haven't walked in their shoes. Then they're foreign, they're bad, they're wrong, they're different. Who's to say? If we were born in that environment, what we would do. So I think everybody's got to remove their frame of reference. Stop looking at everything through your frame of reference.
You agree, Templ?
Break it down.
Yeah.
I think she didn't hear you.
Did she freeze? Okay. She looks,
cute. I want to say something about that. All human behavior makes sense if we can get into the person's frame of reference. I mean, I did my internship in a mental hospital, and I was in like what they call the back wards, where they send the interns, people they really don't expect to change very much. And their behavior made sense when I could understand what they believed. Or what they felt. And so you're right. We have to get out of our frame of reference into their frame of reference.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it makes sense.
Then it makes some sense. Okay, you guys. Boy, we could go on all day.
Can I add something to that about what Ann said? I think what I worked with very severely autistic children, and they were shut. I mean, this is like in the early 80s, before we really even knew about, they were called fairy children. People believed, the fairies would go in and take a healthy, perfect child out of their crib and replace it with a fairy child. There was so little known about autism, but the reason why I could connect so well with these children was because I kind of took off my armor of everything I knew was and everything. And I just really tried to be a sponge, and I tried to have the energy be like flowing between us. Like I tried to, and you guys who have connected with spiritual beings, you try to connect on a level that's not talking, or even you try to connect on this other plane. And autistic kids responded very well to that. So if not only remove your limitations, but raise your intuition of what you're absorbing from another on a different level, and you'll be amazed how much you'll feel accepting.
Yippee. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so glad that you spent this time with me. Can you go around? I'm going to go around and ask if there's a place that you'd like our listeners or followers to find you, to find out more information about you. Templ, can you start? Where would you like them to go?
Easy breezy lemon squeezy. Templ Hayes, HAYES.com.
Oh, nice. She's got a one-stop shop, you guys. Lorilyn, how about you?
I'm actually on Instagram. And it's at just.Lorilyn.
Beautiful. Lorilyn. Beautiful. And Anne, where do you want everybody to find you?
Dr. Anne with an E, Worth,
yes.
Author. I'm so proud of my first book,
Yes. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining. I need you to be here for a 1-hour show each. I just thought the three of you coming together would be such great energy and open hearts and big messages. I know we just touched base on it, but thank you for coming. And everybody, thank you for listening to these gals. We're going to take a quick break and come on back for Fad or For Real. And I got a quick question from a client that I'm going to answer for you. So see you really soon.
The Truth is Funny Shift Happens with Colette Marie Steffen is excited to welcome Karen Benton as a monthly guest host. Tune in on the third Wednesday of each month at 8 a.m. Pacific time to regain confidence and trust in your capacity to create change in your life, your health, your family, and your well-being. Karen Benton is a mother, nurse practitioner, certified body talk practitioner, Franklin Method instructor, and owner of Limitless Living LLC. For more information about Karen, visit KarenBenton.com.
I have had such a good time on Tales from the Merworld Radio. It has been an opportunity for me to expand myself so dramatically and become much braver in my voice, to speak about the things that I'm passionate about that are a little bit out there. Your staff is amazing. Olivia is amazing. Jessica, everybody. Anytime I need anything, they show up right away. So thank you for having such an amazing team that is allowing me this platform to do what Spirit wants me to do.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Coach Peggy Show. And you know what time of the hour this is. This is where I come at you with Fad or For Real. And then I'm going to come at you with an answer to a really cool question that I get pretty often. Haven't had for a while, though. Okay, what do I want to talk about? Fad or For Real? I want to talk about inversion tables. It seems like the last several shows I've talked about it's equipment, right? It's equipment where it's like, am I believing in this ab belt or the rowing machine? But that must just be the lane that I'm in right now. So inversion tables, what do I feel about them? Lots of pros and cons out there. Let me tell you my personal opinion. I have one. I am giving it the gavel of approval for it is a For Real. And let me tell you why. I think it is awesome for certain things, certain purposes, and even certain times of your illness or your injury or whatever. Let me tell you. Some of the cons first. So the cons are if you have any eye issues, retina detachment whatsoever, retina issues, high blood pressure, if you have stroke issues, anything where obviously being even slightly at a decline would cause you some sort of stress, we wouldn't want to use it, would we? No. What is it a pro for? It is a pro for releasing tension in the spine and neck. I mean, that sounds like a duh, doesn't it? So for those of us who have migraines or have had car accidents, which I have had a couple of those and have some neck injuries, mine aren't slip discs or herniated discs. I certainly wouldn't want to use it if that were the case. But just getting some decompression in there is lovely. And I would like to give you a little bit of advice. Of course, talk to your physician, but when you do your decline, you don't have to hang upside down, you guys. For those of you who don't know what an inversion table is, it actually has been documented back to 400 BC. Hippocrates, I think it was, saw somebody hanging in the village upside down by their ankles and said they were doing something to heal themselves. And that's kind of where the documentation originally started, believe it or not. But what you do is you strap in at your ankles and you just do a gradual decline. Gradual. I'm talking degrees at a time and minutes at a time until you get accustomed to it. We're talking 4 minutes, 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. We're not talking straight up and down for 30 minutes. Okay, so check into it, see what your thoughts are. Let me know if you have any comments. Email me at Coach Peggy or at Peggy@allthingswellness.com and let me know your thoughts. Okay, what is the question? The question coming at me is, what do I feel about When somebody is 200 pounds and they keep saying they want to weigh 125, that's a 75 pound range, isn't it? Here's my thing on finding ideal weights. I want you to do a little test. I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to write down what you weighed in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, whichever decade. I want you to write down what weight you weighed the longest during the quote unquote healthiest or most uneventful time of that decade. So you wouldn't want to write down your weight if you were pregnant. You wouldn't want to write down your weight if you had an injury. I want you to write down that weight. And I want you to write down how long you were at that weight. So if I was 150 for 4 years, hey, I pretty much maintained that behavior and maintained that weight. Write those all down. I want you to look at the high and the low. So if it's 200 and it's 175 or 150, you've got to really think about, I want you to think about a ceiling weight and a hell no weight. What does that mean? That's the number that you look at when you say, hell no, I am not going to weigh 200 pounds again, and you're already 195. What are you going to do about it? Remember those things that worked for you, those tools, those strategies, put those in play. Try to get there gradually. Don't swallow a pill. Please do it gradually. Embed those habits. I want you to have a ceiling weight that then comes down. So drop it about do your job. You got to do it. You got to do the work. Drop it about 10 pounds, hover. See how you maintain right there. Then your ceiling weight, your hell no weight drops with you. Say it was 200 pounds. Now it's 190. Hell no, 189. I ain't going to be 190. See what I'm talking about? Now, the thing I'm going to leave you with, if you have not weighed 125 pounds since you were 18 years old in high school and you were a captain of the cheerleading squad, do not come to me at 200 pounds and tell me your goal weight's 125. Okay, get it, got it, good. Reach out to me at Peggy@allthingswellness.com. Hop on my website at allthingswellness.com. You can find all my shows on my YouTube, all my social media, and I cannot wait to see you next week where we finish up these 4 phases, these 4 episodes with Crappy to Happy, and you're going to have Kathleen, OKeefe, Ariel, Patricia, the co-authors, and the New York best time-selling author James Redfield, who did the foreword. And I got to let you go. So talk to you next week. Have a great time. Love you, mean it. I am out.
You've been listening to the Coach Peggy Show. All things wellness with Coach Peggy Wilms. Tune in live the first and third Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where Coach Peggy talks all things wellness. Not just nutrition and fitness, but about all things. About your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. The Coach Peggy Show. Bold, badass, and never half in. For more information or to connect with Coach Peggy, visit allthingswellness.com. The views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.